Hey guys, it's Miss Nelson, and today you guys are going to do notes over writing equations from tables. So let's look at what we have here. So it says that wants you to identify what your independent value and your dependent value is. So we talked about this a lot in class. We know our independent is our x and our dependent is our y value. And it says that when a problem asks you to write an equation that expresses y in terms of x, that means you are either going to write your multiplicative relationship, y equals kx, or your additive relationship, y equals x plus b. Okay, so let's go on and let's look at our example. It says the table shows how much Amanda earns for walking 1, 2, or 3 dogs. Use the table to determine how much Amanda earns per dog. Then write an equation that models the relationship between the number of dogs walked and earnings, and then use your equation to complete the table. So A says, for each column, compare the number of dogs walked and earnings. What is the pattern? So if we look at how we're going to get from here to here, and here to here, and here to here, okay? We know that in order to get the number of dogs walked and the earning that she is going to get, that she is going to multiply number of dogs and we're going to multiply the number of dogs that we have by 8. So here, if I do 1 times 8, that gives me 8. 2 times 8 gives me 16. 3 times 8 gets me 24. So because we know that this is a times 8, we know that this is a multiplicative relationship. So based on what we just learned, the pattern, she earns $8 for each dog. And it wants us to write an equation. So if number of dogs is going to be, E is going to represent earnings and D is going to represent dogs. So this is what I was talking about in class earlier, where I said that sometimes they're going to give you other variables, besides X and Y. So E represents earnings, D represents dogs, and we know that earnings is our dependent, dogs is our independent. So then our equation is going to be dependent, so E equals 8 times D, the number of dogs. So E equals 8D. And it says use your equation to complete the table. Okay, so if we move up here on the top, I have 5 dogs, 10 dogs, and 20 dogs. So if I'm going to use the equation, E equals 8 times the number of dogs, I know that 8 times 5, that will get me 40. I know that 8 times 10 will get me 80. And I know that 8 times 20 is going to give me 160. So I'm going to come back up here at the top. I'm going to fill them in. So I know this is, sorry guys, I don't know how my board likes to do that. So let's erase it. Okay, so 5 is going to be 40, 10 is going to be 80, and 20 is going to be $160. So Amanda's earnings depend on, well, it depends on the number of dogs walked. Okay, F says if Amanda changes the amount earned per dog to $11, what equation could you write to model the relationship between the number of dogs and the earnings? So if the only piece that changes is instead of $8, she charges $11, then my E is going to remain where it is, but instead of 8, I'm going to put 11D. So $11 per dog. Okay, let's look at our next page. A certain percent of the sale price of painting at a gallery will be donated to charity. The donation will be $50 if a painting sells for $200. The donation will be $75 if a painting is sold for $300. Find the amount of the donation if a painting sells for $1,200. So it gives us some information that we can plug into our table. So I'm going to do the first two numbers, pair them together. So the sale price is going to be $200. The donation price would be $50. The sale price is $300. The donation is going to be $75. So it wants to know, and I know that this is my X. Donation is dependent on it, so that is my Y. For each column, compare the sale price and donation amount. What is the pattern? So if I'm comparing 200 to my 50, 300 to my 75, I know that I'm either going to have to subtract or I'm going to have to divide to go lower. So here, if I subtracted, I would subtract 150. But here, if I subtract, I would subtract 225. Since those amounts are different, subtracting is not the viable option. So, but I can divide. So from 200 to get to 50, I would divide by 4. 300 to get to 75, I would divide by 4. So we've just found our relationship. So I could say you divide sale price by 4. So it wants us to write an equation. So I'm going to use D for donation amount and S for sale price. You could also use X and Y. It's the same thing. Now that we know that I'm dividing, I know that my donation depends on the amount of sales divided by 4. And with equations, you're going to write it in a fraction instead of writing S divided by 4 with a division symbol. Use the equation to solve for the donation amount if the painting sells for $1,200. So we're going to use our equation. Instead of trying to fill in the table, we're going to use our equation. So D equals the sale amount divided by 4. So that means that D equals 1,200 divided by 4. I know that 4 goes into 12 3 times, so that leaves me with 300. So the donation amount is going to be $300. Okay? So if you have any questions, make sure you come prepared and ready to ask them. Have a good day.